Great Awakening. Good evening, y'all. So I really want to just chime in on this Dave Chappelle conversation. He released a new comedy special today called The Closer, and in this special, he said that it was going to be his last time talking about the LGBT community until he was sure that we were laughing together. For me, Dave Chappelle is the GOAT because he is one of the funniest beings that I've ever witnessed mainstream, of any race, of any color, of any sex. He's hilarious. I always laugh at him. He makes me feel uncomfortable as well. I don't It's not just smooth sailing all the way through. He hits sensitive buttons. But one of the things that I learned when I was working at the state, and probably the only thing I learned, besides some other stuff I'm not going to talk about right now, was that there can be no resolution without conflict. And so I look at Dave Chappelle as like a divine shit starter, you know. But out of that conflict comes resolution, you know, a chance for us to come together, you know, a chance to establish order from the chaos that, you know, he done let loose. So I'm thankful for his contribution to society. I'm thankful that he uses his platform to have those uncomfortable conversations, to rip the band-aid off and let the healing process start with some good old medicine that makes us laugh. The things that he said that probably offended me, I noticed that he didn't pull any punches or anything. He made jokes about Jews. You know, he called females the B word, but he also kept calling black people and black men niggas. So there wasn't like he used words that could be considered negative to describe both sexes. So there wasn't, to me, that's not sexist. But I do think that some of the things that he says is sexist. But we live in a world that supports a patriarch. We support a patriarch in our religion, and we support a patriarch in our government. So it's obvious that we support men making sexist jokes, men doing sexist things. We support a society that is imbalanced and favors men. Like we're supportive of that. You know, we're not confused about that. We can see it every time we go to the polls for elections. We can see it every time we set foot in a mega church. We can see it by looking over there at the Vatican. The queen has power over there. We have a queen in England, but she has no power. You know, she's basically a show pony. So yeah, um, I think that Dave Chappelle is obviously, even though he's wealthy and probably a part of the 1% now, I think he's still triggered by a lot of things that um, those who identify with the construct of whiteness and can pass for white have done to him, because you know there are Caucasians. White is a culture. It's not necessarily a color, because let's be clear, they have Iranians, they have people from Africa, they have people from all sorts of different countries who coming over here in America and getting that white on the ID. So do not be fooled and think that whiteness is just about skin complexion, because there are people as dark as me that are coming over here from other countries and benefiting from the construct of whiteness. Whiteness is a culture. It's not a race. You know, sometimes we say it just to be talking, but let's be clear in 2021. It is a culture, not a race. Just like blackness is a culture, not a race. People have so much going on in their direct ancestral background. There's a dominance that shows up, and that's how we present, and it gives us our features. But there's so much going on beneath the surface, and I feel like we do ourselves a disservice when we align ourselves with, you know, I'm black, I'm white, I'm gay, I'm straight, you know, whatever. You know, people is some of everything. People have layers. People like onions. People got layers, if we're gonna be honest about it. Um, But the thing that I think that he said that was the things that I think that he said that were probably offensive to me, but I still thought, it was funny. I still got it. I knew why he did it. Um, when he said he aligned himself with the belief of turf, that gender is a fact. I think that sex is a fact. I don't think that every child that is born um, comes through a woman under the construct, um, because that's constantly changing. We're realizing more. I think that when a child is born, it comes here through XX, or it comes here through those who are fully equipped in XX. If we want to be scientific, if we want to be technical, um, yeah, not necessarily a woman, because everyone who is pushing life out of their body does not identify as a woman. Because we have to talk about trans men, we have to talk about people who are gender nonconforming. So there was some erasure in that regard. He kept the focus a lot on trans women, and I think there was some bitterness again, because I think that there's some truth in what he's saying, that some wealthy Caucasian men who've been in power for a long time have used this shift, where women, because it's the construct again, there's some Trojan horses in that going on, Trojan horse situation, but women are prospering now, and there are some wealthy Caucasian men who say, hey, I reigned in that paradigm and I want to reign in this one too. So I could see some bitterness coming from him, because he's trying to stick in the construct in which he was given, and he's staying in that construct, and he feels like now, he finally got wealth and power now, and now, these wealthy Caucasian people, one percenters, have found a way to give him the short end of the stick again. So I can see where that bitterness comes from. Um, Another thing that I would have disagreed with him on is, just his relation to how he sees transness, and this is, I'm not gonna say that I disagree with him on that, because he's entitled to his opinion. I'm just gonna say this: I do the work on honoring myself as whole. I am my mother and my father, but I resonate more with my foremothers. I feel a greater connection to them and that construct, but I identify as whole. Even on my dating profiles, I identify as androgynous. I'm not trying to, just like it's a fact that, just like he feels that gender is a fact, I also feel like it's a fact that I came from my mother and my father, and I don't have to acknowledge one or the other. I could claim both, or I can claim the one that I feel the greatest connection to. You know, I don't think it's nothing wrong with making up words. They're all rooted in words that came from different languages. What gives the language that we've been using historically, and I say historically purposely, what gives the language that we used historically more validity than the terminology that we're coming up with today? So when you say, the trans community makes up words to prove their point, that's another place where I feel like you can miss me with it, as well, because that's what this whole thing is about. This whole thing is a chess game, and people are just finding other ways to win. I choose um, to focus on my wholeness rather than trying to build myself up in a construct that was not designed with me in mind, just like this nation was not designed with me in mind. It was a room full of wealthy Caucasian men who came together to conspire this so-called perfect union. So miss me with that. And a lot of, of my deeply melanated brothers have benefited having voting rights long before these deeply melanated sisters had these rights. So, there's a conversation that we all need to have. I want to thank you, Dave, for the conversation. Keep up the good work. If it rubs you the wrong way, what you gonna do about it? And I guarantee you, the first work that needs to be done is probably within you. Thank you, Chappelle, for being a truth teller. Your version of the truth, and we all got our version of the truth. A man, a woman. So down but down that I say cool, keep spinning and turning. Iangani Iyanko Kulukulo, which means I'm a child of God Goddess. And if I am, you know you are. For the ancestors past, present, and future.